Coming up today on Issues in Education, more than just a classroom. What makes up a well-rounded college experience? We look at new efforts to recognize students who succeed in and out of the classroom. Welcome to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, alongside my co-host, the Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron. There can be more to the college experience than just tests and term papers. Today, more and more students are making an effort to expand the knowledge they've gained in the classroom. The Florida State University has recently created a new Scholar Society to recognize the undergraduates who've gone beyond a great GPA. Dennis Schnicker with FSU Headlines introduces us to the first group to receive this honor this past spring. They are now members of the Garnet and Gold Scholar Society.
At a small ceremony on the grounds of the university president's home, 31 graduating seniors make their way into university history.
So in many ways, what we're about to do is honor the path that you've chosen.
This is Florida State University's inaugural class of Garnet and Gold Scholars.
He's a Media and Communication Studies major.
The Garnet and Gold Scholar Society recognizes the engaged, well-rounded student who excels within and beyond the classroom in the areas of leadership, internship, service, international study, and research, all areas of particular strength at Florida State University.
Dadrian Campbell.
It brings together all the engagement areas. I did leadership, service, and internship, and somebody could have did research and international experiences too. So I feel like it does bring together everybody and kind of showcases what Florida State students are all about and what kind of activities we engage in.
Al Hartley is a theater major from Stone Mountain, Georgia.
It's actually a real honor. It's a real honor to kind of have the arts out there and knowing that the arts can kind of apply to these three different areas. So it's really great. It feels really good to be part of something really new, and I think that's going to be really impactful for the university.
I think most people in this program will hopefully carry forward with all of the engagement areas that they've succeeded in and carry forward those characteristics into their jobs, into their professional life, and be an example for the rest of campus and come back as, successful alums.
That spring ceremony recognized the first group of students to be part of the Garnet and Gold Scholar Society. This August, there's a new group walking the graduation stage. Here to tell us more about the program is Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Mary Coburn. Joining her is Patrick Jabbour. He's graduating this August as a Garnet and Gold Scholar. Also here is Julie LeBlanc. She was part of the inaugural group we just heard about. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, my first question for you is, let's take a moment to get to know the students that are joining us today. What are you or did you study when you were here at FSU?
I'm majoring in hospitality, management, finance, and economics. So that's what I studied. I'm also involved with FRLA, which is a student organization that's part of the Dedman School of Hospitality, as well as a teaching assistant for managing revenues and expenses class.
Julie, what did you do when you were here?
I just graduated in April with my degree in social work, and I also earned the undergraduate certificate in leadership studies.
So what's next for both of you?
I'm headed to Chicago very soon to pursue a master's degree in higher education and student affairs at Loyola University in Chicago.
Wonderful.
And I'm currently looking for a permanent employment and eventually probably go back to get my MBA after I get some work experience in the industry.
So we know Julie and Patrick are what we would call engaged students, if you look at all the things that they've done. Why is this a good thing?
Yeah. Well, all of the research on college students says that those who are engaged and involved are more successful. They make better grades, they are more involved with the classroom experience, and then this Garnet Gold Scholar Society takes that even to the next level.
So what is the Garnet and Gold Scholar Society?
Yeah. Well, when you came here as president, you had the idea of making Florida State the most engaged or student-centered campus in the country, and we were already well along that road. And so the Garnet Gold Scholar Society is a way for students to show excellence in 3 of 5 areas: leadership, service, internship, research, and international experiences. And those are all areas that really enhance the classroom learning. They're ones that expand it and make the classroom learning come alive for students.
Well, how did it get started? Who had the idea to do this?
Yeah, well, I think President Barron, in conversation with some alumni and those of us on campus who knew we already had strengths in these 5 areas, we already had strong programs, but we weren't doing anything to help students sort of bring all that together. And so through this experience, they pick a set of areas that really build on their academic learning, and then they can really go in depth with those areas. And I think they've all found that it really has been a fruitful experience for them.
You know, it is interesting because if you say student-centered to someone, very frequently they ask you, well, what does that mean? And to me, that means giving students opportunities and making sure that they can be successful. And then you say this to alumni, and they're asking you, well, what do you mean? Give us some examples. And the alumni say, well, why shouldn't you be recognizing people for these types of activities? And it just began to grow and grow. So how did the two of you get to hear about this, and what made you convinced you should do it?
I heard a buzz on campus. I think last year, about this time, there was just a buzz at the Center for Leadership and Civic Education, where I'm involved and was working last summer, and it just sounded like a cool program that I thought would, for me, be largely reflective, because I was a senior and it was going back on reflecting on experiences that I had already had, and I thought it would be a great way, like Dr. Coburn said, to synthesize the 3 different experiences that I chose to pursue within the program.
Patrick, how'd you hear about it?
Well, it's definitely a reflective program, that's for sure, Julie. But I heard about it just via my FSU email. And once I did find out a little bit more about it, I thought it would be a great chance for me to kind of look back at all the things that I've done here at FSU and all the opportunities and doors that were open for me. And
it really distinguishes them as graduates who've gone above and beyond. And I think employers and grad schools like that as well.
You know, I asked a number of employers this question. So here you have a great grade point from a great institution and another great grade point from another great institution. How do you distinguish? Who are you going to pick? Okay. And there's no doubt in my mind that you start talking about your experiences and they go, no, I'll take the person with those experiences in addition to the grade point every time.
Now, I have a question about the 5 different components you mentioned. Do the students have to fulfill all of them, or is there a certain number they have to do? Explain how that works.
No, they just choose 3 of the 5, although students do more, but the 3 of the 5 are the ones where they need to do the reflection papers and the synthesis, and they usually pick the ones that enhance their major the most. The other thing we've liked about it is it helps students translate their college experience to life after graduation, because a lot of times we don't think about how that leadership experience really prepared us for the next step, and so that's been a benefit of it also.
Why are these 5?
Well, I think these are 5 that really tie in most strongly to the academic experience. Service is one where you can go and practice being an accountant or being an environmental engineer in a nonprofit site or in a community. And so it gives you a free opportunity to put what you know into practice. Internship's the same way. It really makes the classroom learning come alive in a real work setting. Leadership, again, employers are asking us for those skills of students who can work in a team and communicate well with others, be self-aware and know how they're coming across in a group and being sensitive. Research, we're already strong in that, and so that highlighted that area as well.
Now, which 3 did you 2 choose? Which 3 did you 2 choose?
Mine were internship, leadership, and research.
What did you have to do those 3?
Well, each one is really a different experience. Research and culminated honors in the major project, which was a study based on consumer tipping habits in the restaurant industry. So that satisfied that. Internship, I had multiple internships, some here in Tallahassee with Visit Florida, with the PGA Championship in Kohler, and with the Hilton Fort Lauderdale Marina down in South Florida. So reflecting on those satisfied that requirement. And for leadership, I was on the executive board for FRLA, which is the Dedman School Student Organization.
Julie, yours?
Yes, I completed service, leadership, and international. So for service, it was 200 hours of service throughout my time at FSU. I worked with a couple different nonprofits out in the community. The leadership component, I think, was my favorite because it combined the leadership engagement and leadership education. So it wasn't just having a positional role in an organization, but really getting education and taking specific classes in leadership. And then international was a study abroad experience I did last summer to Costa Rica through FSU International Program. So through that study abroad experience, I was also able to combine that with my leadership and do it as part of the requirement for the leadership certificate. So it was great to look at followership. I was a member of an organization as opposed to having a leadership role, and I also looked at leadership in an international context. So what kind of leadership topics are evident in Costa Rican culture, and so it was fascinating to be able to combine some of the components within the Scholar Society.
And so, I mean, obviously, this is a new society, and here you are, which means that you've been busily working on these things, and for you, this is now recognition. But for a new student coming in, is this something that they can pull off in a semester or two, or is this a lifestyle here?
I think that's a great question. I think it becomes a lifestyle. For Patrick and myself, this society is new, so we did it largely reflective on things that we had done when there was no medal or recognition at the end. Although I think it's great to recognize students, it was something that we had already done, I think probably just because we were interested in these things. So it's great to recognize students, but I think the society has the potential to make the culture of FSU. Students want to do things and become engaged and study abroad because it's something they're really interested in. And so I definitely think the society is opening those doors to have that culture of engagement, which I think is great for the university.
Do you do this when you first get to your senior year, or do you do this your last semester before you graduate? And how much time did it take to work on?
The project itself takes about 2 semesters. But I think the advantage that students have now is that they can look at, okay, look, this is the goals when I'm a freshman. I have a guideline of what I need to do to really stand out amongst my peers. But the actual reflective part, the writing, takes about 2 semesters at the end.
And so how does a student do this? Sign up? What's the process?
Yeah, we have it all online. We have a great website, garnetandgoldscholars.fsu.edu. And you go on and you can fill out an intent form and select the areas that you want to pursue, and then it lists the criteria so you can tell us how you're going to achieve that, a study abroad experience, a research project, or whatever. And then you submit all of your reflection papers online and your synthesis paper online, and then we have advisors who work with students along the way to help them determine what their path will be, as well as to read the papers and certify that.
Is there a limited number of people who can apply for this, or do you have any sort of limit right now on how many people can become Garnet and Gold Scholars?
No, it's not limited at all. We would love to have students be motivated to do it. It might exceed our capacity. We'll be bursting at the seams with students at the end of the semester trying to read everything, but that's our desire, to have it be more students than we can even accommodate.
That's what you call a good problem.
That's right.
Then you're going to turn around and ask money to staff it up, right?
Yes, we are.
That's right. Good. So.
Current tense, future tense.
That's right. Well, that's wonderful. So what was special about your synthesis? Was it just sort of I did all this, or did you walk away thinking more reflectively?
I think you get a chance to really, for me, it brought everything that I have done together, because research and leadership and internship, they're all different in their own way. This kind of brought my whole experience at Florida State, and it also made me realize what opportunities Florida State had really presented to me and how much it's impacted my life in the last 4 years.
I think it was largely reflective for me as well, especially senior year, kind of getting in that nostalgic mindset anyways. I think it was great to just look back and see something come together that had really been 4 years in the making. I started with alternative break corps my freshman year, and that was kind of what spurred my international interest, and I think probably one of the reasons I wanted to study abroad anyway, and then getting involved with the leadership certificate as well. So it was really 4 years of coming together and not just saying I did this, but what did I learn from this, I think was the coolest part about it. Just not having 200 hours, but thinking about the relationships I've had after those 200 hours of service, or just kind of this culminating reflective mindset at senior year.
Did someone help you work on these? Did you have guidance from administration and faculty, or are you doing this all on your own?
I had guidance. Dr. Mills at the Center for Leadership and Civic Education was my program advisor, and so he would provide feedback on my submissions, and I think mentors along the way, not necessarily in the program, but I have incredible mentors just throughout campus and different departments. So I would talk to them about my experiences, and they would definitely help me make meaning out of how leadership collided with my international experiences and things like that.
Patrick?
Yeah, as a part of the requirements for the society, you have to pick advisors, and I think the society does a great job of making sure that those students that are involved in 3 or more of these engagement areas have access to questions. So we were definitely guided throughout the way.
Yeah. And there are prompts on the website too. So when you're writing your reflection and synthesis paper, answer these questions, and that helps people think about what it meant to them.
So let's compare what you hoped the benefits would be with what you think the benefits actually were.
Yeah.
What were you hoping for?
Well, we hope that this will increase students who participate in these activities. We hope that this will lead them to make more meaning of it. When I studied abroad as an undergraduate, I just came back to the United States and nobody knew anything about it, and I didn't really think about how it made me a different person. And so we hope that it will help them think about who they are now, who they were before they started college and afterwards, and what an impact Florida State has been on them. And then how are they going to continue this kind of learning and impact after they grow? And certainly the university benefits from all their contributions to us, and we want to benefit from all their skill and knowledge and enthusiasm while they're students.
Okay, is that what happened?
Very well said. I think so. I think it is. I think it's largely the ripple effect. I don't know. I can't sit down today and say I learned this, and this from being a Garnet and Gold Scholar member, but I think it's 5 years down the road, or maybe even next year as I start grad school, I'll realize, wow, my engagement studying abroad really taught me this. And so I think for me, that's the cool part about it, is I don't know exactly where I'm going or how this program has benefited me, but I know it has, and I know through that reflection that it will benefit me, and then in turn I'll benefit a university that I'll work at one day, hopefully Florida State.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Julie. I think, again, it gives new students the opportunity to really look for, okay, these are the goals that I have over the next 4 years. So I think in addition to what Julie said, definitely.
So just out of curiosity, in your job application or graduate application, did you mention the experiences?
All of the experiences that
did you? Yes, this was a part of your pitch.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And the addition to that we completed this Garnet and Gold Honors Scholar Society.
Well, I have one last question. What makes a good candidate for the Garnet and Gold Society? Who should be thinking, okay, this is something I should look at and do?
Well, I think it's motivated for any student to be involved. If a student is more quiet and shy and they don't want to see themselves in a leadership role, maybe they're a student that does the research and the internship and does a more introspective kind of experience. But it's hard for me to imagine a student that wouldn't benefit from that and do a good job in it.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. We've been talking about the Garnet and Gold Scholar Society. When we come back, Dr. Barron and I will talk one-on-one about more issues in education. Welcome back to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, talking with Dr. Eric Barron, the president of the Florida State University. Dr. Barron, we've been talking about the Garnet and Gold Scholar Society. Why do you think it's important to have this kind of recognition available for students?
Okay, it's a large part of it is encouraging great outcomes. So we know that if a student is engaged, they actually tend to do better. More and more we even realize that if we have students living on campus, they tend to be more engaged and do better. And so universities are starting to encourage more of that living learning community. So one part of engagement is to be successful. Now the other thing you think about is if you're engaged in very worthwhile activities that are good for you and good for your career, then you're with people, with friends, that are also reinforcing great habits and great behaviors. And if you're with friends that are doing great things, you tend to be happier. So all of a sudden you're sitting there looking at an engaged student as being a better student, doing better in grades, having friends that are reinforcing great behavior, and you're happier. And so that's kind of hard to resist.
What does the university get out of it?
Well, the university gets quite a bit of pride out of it because, you know, money is tight these days, and everybody is sitting there talking about being forced to make bigger classes and doing more online. And what we're saying is, no, we're going to be more of a community. And so I think that's to the credit of the university to say our commitment to the students will trump the tendencies to make education more anonymous.
How is this going to translate once the students get out into the real world? How will it impact society by being a part of this society?
Okay, so I think there's several things there. One is I think it increases the opportunities for students to get a job. I mean, if you really do compare two resumes, and they're good schools and good grade points, but this person has done study abroad, and they've become a person of the world. This is someone who's done an internship. You can see with Patrick, he did multiple internships. These are real-world experiences. That certainly makes a difference. And so that part's good, but then you also start to think about the type of person who is giving back through service, who cares about leadership. And these are, or are people of the world. These are attributes that I think society should value because you're likely to do a better job.
July started the new fiscal year for the state and for the university, and we know the budget situation's been bad for a while now. What are some of the final decisions that had to be made to deal with the current, the latest legislative session?
We're basically done with the areas that will receive budget cuts. We worked very hard to make sure we protected the student experience and that we protected faculty and our staff. And that was the principle that we were looking at. We don't want our student-faculty ratios to change. We want to make sure that our students have access to classes. We want to make sure we have great faculty and they stay here. So athletics contributed $1 million to the academic programs. We took the provost's office and the VPs, and they worked hard to find recurring dollars to help cover the budget deficit. And about the only thing we have left to look at is really how we structure financial aid. The way we've structured financial aid has always been first come, first serve. And that means you have some people that are very needy that have unmet need. And we want to make sure that as universities become more expensive, that we're still accessible. So we're working on a model by which we meet the needs of the neediest students first. And so that's something that's going to take a year for us to work through. We believe that we'll move categories of money around, and so we may actually do a better job and be able to save money because we're more directed towards the purpose of aiding students who need financial aid.
This fall, will students be seeing any difference in classes or anything like that from the recent budget
I don't think so.
deficit?
As I said, this was part of the core principles that we started with, and that is that, you know what a tragedy is? A tragedy is to charge a student more and give them less. And we know because of the state budget, we're being forced to charge students more. And I just don't want to give them less at the same time. So that was part of the core, is to protect the student experience and make sure we have the faculty here to teach the students.
You made a promise to the employees last year, and I understand you're about to keep it. Can you explain that?
Well, we've gone 5 years without raises, and one outcome of that is that faculty, good faculty, are enticed away from Florida State for raises, because all of a sudden they're looking at a family and college and all those other expenses, and we've had no raises for 5 years. And if someone offers them 15% or 20%, you sit there and go, well, how long will it take me to get that at Florida State? And you make a decision about leaving that's financial, not a decision based on the academic environment. We want it to be about the academic environment. So I promised that last year they had a bonus, and I would try to make the 3% bonus a permanent raise. And so in part of finding money was finding enough money to be able to do that.
And you've been able to do that?
And we will do it.
You saw the last shuttle launch in July in person. What did you think of it?
You know, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of energy just seeing all the people there and enthusiasm. The traffic was terrible. They said there was going to be 1 million people that were there, no hotel rooms for 100 miles. And, you know, and it's a very short amount of time, but it's spectacularly beautiful.
Do you think the end of the shuttle program will mean college students will be less interested in STEM degrees, science, technology, engineering, mathematics?
We need to have a healthy space program. There's too many reasons. It's reasons that are based on observing the Earth and how our environment is changing and how we need to know that, and for new product development, and for having the whole notion of exploring the unknown. And so, in my view, we have to have good launch capability. Space station is now dependent on Russian launch capability. That's just difficult to sit there and think about. And so I worry that we have a gap, and that will be a talent gap, not just a launch capability gap.
The new school year is about to start. What are you looking forward to the most this year?
You know, I'm looking forward to convocation. I don't think I ever would have said that. But we have this barbecue in the backyard, and everybody's wearing a T-shirt which is with their major or that they're doing discovery. And last year we had 4,000 students in our backyard. We expect 7,000 students in our backyard this year. And we're just sort of
And when you mean backyard, you mean your backyard, the
right,
president's...
the president's backyard. and we're ready to serve barbecue to 7,000 people. And there is so much energy there. And everybody in the College of Music is wearing a T-shirt that says College of Music. It's a quick way to find someone with a similar major.
Wonderful. Thank you, President Barron. That's our time for now. Please join us again next month for more Issues in Education. You can watch the premiere episode of Issues in Education the first Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. That means you can see the next new episode on Wednesday, September 7th on WFSU-TV. Join us as we discuss the latest developments in higher education happening around the state and across the country. If you have questions that you would like us to address on this program, you can email us at issues@wfsu.org. Again, that's issues@wfsu.org. If you would like to see past episodes of Issues in Education, head to the President's website at president.fsu.edu. I'm Suzanne Smith with the Florida State University President, Dr. Eric Barron, for Issues in Education. We'll see you next time.